Pre-assessment, as all valid practices in education, has purpose. So this module begins with a few points in response to the question, why do we pre-assess students? Firstly, it is a requirement of our work. The NESA statement around teachers' use of assessment for learning to inform their teaching requires them to gather and use evidence in regard to their students' knowledge, understanding, and skills. Pre-assessment is the key starting point in assessment for learning and ideally should occur 1 to 2 weeks before the commencement of the teaching program. More importantly, though, the purpose of pre-assessment is to inform teaching and learning by determining the student's readiness, as in the student's current level of mastery of the learning outcomes. Teachers must know the student's knowledge and skills, what they understand, as well as find any misinterpretations or misunderstandings they may have in regard to the intended learning outcomes before they will be able to plan effective instruction and learning opportunities for the classroom. A leading researcher, Carol Tomlinson, suggests that pre-assessment is used to ascertain an individual student's entry point into a teaching unit by identifying both this academic readiness and students' interests and learning preferences. In this way, curriculum and instructional strategies are matched to their academic needs, what they are interested in, and explored through their preferred ways of learning. In the light of this, the role that pre-assessment plays as the first step in effective curriculum differentiation becomes evident, as it provides the teacher with detailed information about existing levels of mastery in relation to the learning outcomes of a specific unit that is about to be taught. It enables teachers to tailor learning experiences according to a student's learning needs. So what does that all mean for you, the teacher? Pre-assessment should be the key measure that informs your planning, a guide to help you amend what you had planned so that it suits what the students actually need. It is possible that some students may already have mastery or at least some mastery of the learning outcomes of the unit you're about to teach. So the pre-assessment will inform you of this and enable you to plan appropriately to ensure that you can maximize their learning. It ensures that time is not wasted reteaching already mastered knowledge, skills, and understanding, and that new learning in its place is assured. It's important to note that you may not be able to gather evidence of student understanding, knowledge, and skill for every learning outcome. You may want to assess what is most pivotal or important in the unit, with a focus on what is new to students. We'd like to make 4 final points. The first is, when selecting what form of pre-assessment to use, teachers should take into account the nature of the classroom environment, as well as the age, culture, and gender of students. It's wise also to be sure that students are familiar with the format you choose, so that this doesn't accidentally create a stumbling block for students to negotiate within the task. Secondly, if a student achieves 85% or demonstrates competency equivalent to 85% in a pre-assessment, it's considered sufficient demonstration of mastery of the learning outcomes to warrant appropriate extension learning. 100% is not the required benchmark. The third point is that pre-assessment should never be graded and given back to students, but instead be used to inform the teaching and learning. Explicitly explaining this to students prior to the task can reduce pressure and elicit richer responses. Finally, research recommends that both formal and informal assessment for learning should be ongoing throughout a teaching unit, continually informing the teaching and learning that will take place in the classroom. Informed flexibility and planning is the ideal. There are some guiding principles for pre-assessment. Pre-assessment should occur prior to instruction of the unit, allowing enough time for a teacher to analyse the data and use this to inform teaching and learning. It should assess the core outcomes in an open-ended way to allow gifted and talented students to show the full extent of their understanding, knowledge, and skills. And assess students' readiness, their current knowledge, skills, and understanding about a key concept. Pre-assessment should be accessible to all students. Take into account the student's context, including culture, age, gender, abilities, and disabilities, and always assess students individually as opposed to groups. It can take a variety of forms depending on the learning outcomes and goals. Finally, pre-assessment should inform planning, assisting teachers to improve the learning opportunities for all students, leading to appropriate curriculum differentiation that also takes into account their interests and learning preferences.